Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and for today's video, in honor of it being Halloween, I decided to do a little occult build, I guess. So I decided to just do I consider kind of like the three main occults. Obviously, some of these occults didn't come until later compared to other cults, but I kind of think of the main occults as vampires, werewolves, and then spellcasters. Obviously, yes, I know. There's aliens, there's mermaids. I'm probably forgetting something but for me personally, I'm sticking with these three as the main occults. I really don't play with occults in general, that much anyways. It's just not my vibes when it comes to playing. I personally just typically play more realistic gameplay. I honestly genuinely don't think I've ever really played the occults like in any huge capacity. I think I did play spellcasters a little bit, but I didn't even it took me a minute to even realize that my sim was a spellcaster because I didn't realize that their father was a spellcaster, and then after the fact, like once they were like literally an adult, I realized, oh wait, they're a spellcaster. So, I don't really have that much experience with it. And I also really don't utilize too much of like especially the build aspects of any of the specific packs that go with the um occults in general. So I decided that I was gonna do a little challenge. I tried to kind of play around with the terrain a little bit to kind of mimic something that's, a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess not unique, but not as boring as just like flat land. I'm not good with terrain whatsoever, but I think for the most part, it turned out kind of sort of how I wanted it in my head. So I'm okay with it. And I also used a pretty small lot. I don't remember what it is exactly. I think it's like a 4 by 30 lot. So it wasn't that big of a lot. I did think about using a slightly bigger lot so that I could make the houses like a little bit more what I had in mind. But I didn't want to do anything too crazy. And I thought it was just going to be fine because this is actually the lot that the Charmed family is on, and so I just deleted their house and had it in, I don't even know what that world is called, but the spellcaster world from Realm of Magic. I have no idea what that world is called, which I feel like is really bad, but I'm terrible with like remembering even the titles of the packs. But I mainly work on the outside of the packs for the first kind of, or not the packs, the houses for the first bit or first half probably of this video. I try to make them all look unique, so they all are completely different heights or stories. They have multiple stories, and they're all different. The vampire home, I gave that one a 2-story home. The werewolf is a 1-story home, and then I did end up making the spellcaster. I didn't intend to do it, but I did end up making the spellcaster's home a 3-story home just because I wanted it to have like a little attic kind of area where they have a lot of their spell casting stuff and whatnot. And so that's what I went for with all of that. And I wanted them all to look very different as far as styles and stuff like that. So I tried to make sure that, I mean, I feel like that's an easy task to do, but like I didn't want them all to be like stone buildings and like all look exactly like they belong together. I wanted them to look very different where they don't really match up completely. So I went with a classic little brick kind of home, dark colors with a vampire house. And then for the werewolf house, even though they do have a lot of aspects of like more of a industrial vibe with a lot of the vampires, or I'm sorry, the werewolf pack, I decided to go for more of a rustic wood cabin situation because I just wanted it to be, I didn't want to have like a industrial kind of vibe for my werewolf house. I wanted it to be more, I guess, like natural. So that's what I went with this one. And then the spellcasters, they had a lot of brick kind of vibes too. So I just tried to do a very light um, brick to go with it, just because I didn't want it to resemble or seem like the vampire home. I wanted to, like I said, I wanted them all to be very different. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I could have probably just done siding for the spellcaster home, but I kind of liked how it turned out and I liked the brick look, so I'm okay with that. And as far as one of the biggest struggles I think I had was landscaping, because I could not, especially with the terrain, do too much landscaping because a lot of it, I shouldn't say none of it, a lot of it didn't really sit flat on the ground since I had the terrain leveled up and on all over the place. So it was really hard for me to do landscaping, but I especially struggled with doing any sort of landscaping with the werewolf house. So that's why the werewolf house doesn't really have landscaping at all, because everything I tried to do, it just wasn't looking good and it made it look worse. So I figured it would just look better with no landscaping whatsoever. And with this build, I in general struggled a little bit just because I wanted them obviously to be small. I didn't want to do like too big of a home. I figured most likely most of these houses would only have one sim, maybe max two sims, like a couple kind of vibe, living in them. So it was really, really hard for me to figure out floor plans with these homes. I was able to fit a whole extra bedroom in the spellcaster home because that one is a bit bigger than all of the rest of them. But it still was a struggle to fit everything that I wanted in each of the homes in the way that I wanted it to look. I struggled alone with just figuring out where to put the ladder for the spellcaster home. But for the vampire home, I kind of just ended up, because of the windows I picked outside, I originally was kind of vibing with like a green color, but I figured that I should just stick with like the red kind of tone. So I went with that. So it's mainly just black and red, and then like with some hints of gold throughout the house. And that's kind of just the vibe that I went with that. I did try, because like I said, I don't really use a lot of the packs that come with the occults and everything, or like specifically the things that come with them. I honestly genuinely like the vampire cabinets and the counters look fine. They look like a completely normal house, but I honestly don't think I really ever use it. So I decided to use those, and I wanted to stick with like more of a rustic, I shouldn't say rustic, but like an older kind of vibe. I figured, an old vampire who's lived many years lives here and somewhat hasn't completely changed their ways, even though they're obviously living in a modern time. So that's kind of what I went with this. Again, it's a tiny house, so everything was like a tight fit, and I was really struggling. I was like, oh my gosh, why did I do this to myself? I don't know how I'm going to fit all of this stuff in here to be fully functioning, because I don't think I've really ever built a house this small before. I mean, I've built really, really small homes. I've built micro homes before, but like, especially with a home that like has multiple stories, but it's still very small. I've never built something like this before. And initially, obviously you can see I have 2 bedrooms, because I completely forgot about the fact that one of those 2 bedrooms, I'm using air quotes here, was supposed to be a bathroom. And so I realized that after the fact. I'm like, oh wait, this is supposed to be a bathroom and not a whole nother bedroom, because there is no bathroom here. So I fixed that eventually, and this is definitely a house that only one sim can live in, specifically a vampire sim, because the only thing I was really able to fit in the bedroom is one little casket. I could have probably left the double bed, but I also just figured I wasn't sure if the Sims would really, I think they would probably be able to fit through the sides of the bed, but I honestly wasn't 110%. But also, because it's a vampire home, I felt like it needed to have a casket. Like, I couldn't build a vampire house without a casket. And yes, could I have gone and done a basement? Yes. But I didn't want to do that, So we didn't do that. And I kind of just had fun with just using things that I really don't ever use. Because I don't think I've ever in my whole entire life touched that toilet from vampires a day in my life. I do think that I have, you know what? Maybe I have, because I did build my Snow White cabin situation, and I think I may have used that toilet because it kind of is like an older vibe kind of toilet, and I wanted to have like older stuff in that build. So maybe I did use it, but I don't even know. I don't remember. My memory, it's not that great. I don't remember things like ever. But honestly, I feel like for me, the vampire house was like the easiest to do. I don't know if it was because it was like the first one that I kind of started furnishing, or if I just had a better idea of exactly what I wanted to do for that home. I'm not sure, but it just came a lot more natural for me. I don't know. It may also have to do with, I feel like the vampire pack probably has like more things in it in general. Like, I think it just has a lot more to work with, but that might just be my own false ideas, because I think the spellcaster pack definitely has a good bit, because they both have like full kitchens, full bathroom kind of vibes, and bedroom furniture, so they're probably fairly equal in the amount of stuff that they have. But then again, I still feel like as far as like decorations, the spellcaster decorations, it's more so just like things that you would imagine like a witch kind of vibe situation would have, whereas like the vampire decorations and stuff and like extra bits, I feel like look more like just regular schmegular like gothic dark vibe decorations that you could put anywhere that's not like super specific. I don't know. Clearly, even now after doing this build, I still am struggling with the whole concept of what I wanted here. And it was really hard for me too, because I wanted them to like fit the vibe of the whole home, but I also wanted it to still be like functional, where like it's not just nothing in the house, but like a place to sleep, eat, and use a bathroom. I wanted them all to have some sort of activities that they could do along with living where they are, but I wanted the activities to kind of match what I feel like the personality of the different occults would have, just like as a general stereotypical personality. So that's why I put the little chess table with the vampire, because I felt like of all things the vampire would do, it would either be playing the organ or chess. Obviously, it's a small house. Don't have enough room for a whole organ. I did try to fit the organ in there, but obviously it did not work out that well. So, chess it was. And then for the werewolves, I felt like the werewolves should have been a lot easier for me, because I had so much more room, I feel like, because it's definitely had like more of an open plan, because all I needed was a room for the bedroom and the bathroom, and then everything else was like very open. But I think because I did make it where it was a slightly weird shape, that made me struggle a little bit with fitting the things that I wanted to fit in there, but also taking up the full amount of space that I needed to take up for. So you'll see here shortly that I do fill up the back of the like living area with some of the gym equipment that comes with the werewolves. Because I did want to include that, because I figured, that would be a way for them to get out that range that they have. But I just wanted it to also kind of still have that sort of separation from each other. So it was really hard for me to kind of do that. I literally just put those plants in there as a separation between them. And then I really struggled too, because as you can see, there's that whole big open area to the side and like where the front door is. And I was really struggling on what in the world I could put in that area. And so I had to do a little bit more rearranging later on to kind of figure out what to do with that space so it's not just super empty. But I think in general, I feel like this build turned out pretty well. I actually didn't realize how many little like knick-knacky things that the werewolves have that you could like put on shelves and like put on like tables and stuff as far as decorations and stuff like that. And so I really found as far as decorating, I found the werewolves was kind of easy because there was a lot of stuff to work with there. And but at the same time, I didn't know how I wanted it to, since I did have it like as a log cabin, and I did want it to have kind of like that rustic, very well worn, maybe not the newest kind of furniture and like newest kind of look to the house. So I really struggled to have like a good balance with that, of like making sure that if I was going for a certain theme with the werewolves, that I kind of stuck with it, where like everything kind of looks very run down and very well used. But the unfortunate thing is werewolves does not have a bed, and I feel like that was like a missed opportunity to have like a nice, proper, like very well worn, dirty kind of looking bed. I think that would have fit really well with that, but unfortunately they didn't. But I think honestly, personally for me, even though I'm not a pink girl, I think that the spellcaster home is the home that I could probably see myself living in the most. Because it's like nice and bright, and I feel like it kind of gives like off a more like airy kind of vibes to it too. And I don't know why I decided to go pink. It just felt right, I guess, for me to go pink. But like I said, I wanted them all to be very different, and I think part of me was too afraid of going like too dark with the spellcasters, and then it just ending up looking like a similar version to the vampires. But I also didn't want to go like full on complete white, because I feel like I do that often, and so I wanted to add in and incorporate a good amount of color to everything so that it wasn't like super boring and plain and everything. I struggled so much with this bathroom. This bathroom, I had the hardest time getting and figuring out. And then I finally figured I just needed to go and shrink down that sink. Because I wanted to use as much as I possibly, like I said, I wanted to use this pack specific things in each house. And so I felt like, it was necessary, even though I had a whole nother bathroom that had the spellcaster sink and toilet and everything. I still wanted it in the upstairs bathroom. And I also struggled with the layout of this room. I was thinking about making it into like a regular kid's bedroom where it has like a regular bed. But then I kind of honestly like the idea of having like a little nursery situation there too. So, and it's a little bit different to have a nursery instead of just like a whole nother like regular schmegular bedroom. So that's what I went with instead. And honestly, I feel like the spellcaster infant crib is like one of my favorite cribs personally. so that's why I did that partially. And then for the rest of the build, I kind of was just rearranging certain things, trying to fill up like the space like here with the werewolves, and just trying to make it each home look a little bit more lived in, and specifically lived in with the different kind of characteristics or like vibes and personality that I feel like each of the occults would have. So that's what I did. For example, with the werewolves, I gave them like toilet paper, but instead of putting toilet paper on like a toilet paper roll, I just had the toilet paper on top of the sink. I gave them the toothpaste that was like squeezed and stuff. And I also gave them dog treats because, I'm sure a werewolf would not be eating dog treats in reality, but I didn't know what else to put in there, but I wanted it to be cluttered and have, stuff there to, make sure that it looked like someone actually lived there and utilized all the things. So I tried to add a little bit of mess to it, but I didn't want it to be completely messy. And I did figure out a way to fill up that space by moving the door to the bedroom over to the corner there, and then just adding a little desk. I didn't add like a computer or anything there because I just didn't think that was necessary, and I didn't want to add too much like technology, because I feel like they all have TVs already, so I feel like they don't really need anything more as far as technology wise anyways. And for the spellcasters, I decided that I wanted them to be like a little bit more planty, because I figured out of all of them, I feel like the spellcasters would probably be utilizing like plants and stuff, obviously with their different, I was gonna say spells, but it's not potions, with their potions and stuff. So I utilized their front porch as an area to just make it look like they do a bunch of planting and stuff like that. And I added a lot of the greenhouse kit stuff to it, and just made sure that it really looked like, you know, someone is taking their time with planting and stuff. I didn't add any actual real plants in there. I did put a plant pack, the spellcaster plant pack, on one of the outside tables, just so that there is that. But I also don't actually have any proper planters with the spellcaster home. I do have planters with the werewolf home, because I figured they would probably like plant some like garlic and then like stuff, and like the vampires could probably plant wolfsbane and stuff like that. So, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I could have totally incorporated that stuff more, but I didn't. But I'm just doing some last minute touches to make sure that the homes all look good, because one thing I always forget is changing the lights, and I just end up leaving the regular lights in. So I would try to always make sure that I do that, but I'm just doing some last minute touches here. And so I will go ahead and close out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys with the next one. Bye, guys!